What do my gente, your boys coming through once again. And on today's video, we're going to talk about Cdcr performing experimental tests on inmates against their will or with their consent, right? Now, when I came to Cdcr, right, in my years in Cdcr, I heard something around those lines, right? And where basically Cdcr will pay you money in order for you to go through a trial, right? Maybe if you had cancer, maybe if you have some kind of issue with you, they had a special pill that has never been tested. And guess what? Now you were going to be the guinea pig. They're going to pay you a monthly, I think it was like $30 per month. And hopefully everything will come good and your issue will be solved, right? So I guess if you hear about that, it's all right, right? It's all right. But not necessarily. They were doing some crazy ass stuff that, man, it was considered unethical, right? So somebody hit me up and told me this story, right? So I was like, hold on, I do remember something like that. So when I started doing the research, seeing what's up with the Vacaville, California medical facility, why he was built and stuff like that, I came across some crazy ass stories, right? And that's what we're going to talk about this video. So before we continue with this video, do not forget to hit the like, a comment, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel, man, hit the subscribe button, notification bell to be notified every time we drop videos. And if you live in the Central Valley and you have a party, some kind of event, and you want Mexican food, hit up our friends from Perez Fiesta. They'll hook you up with some bomb food, man. So let's get to this story. So when I did the research, right, I came across an article, a news article, and where basically, I think it was in 1970 when this article came up, and eventually they reposted it in 2024, and where a university is basically saying, or basically apologizing for performing unethical performance or experiments on inmates, right? Meaning that these inmates were being tested. They were being used as guinea pigs for pesticides. You know what happened with pesticides? People get cancer. So these inmates supposedly, with their will, with the consent, they're performing this test. But let's not forget what's up with Vacaville. Vacaville was built in 1955. Eventually, in 1957, they opened its doors to house inmates, and those inmates were individuals with mental issues. You know, they couldn't be out on the yards, they were kept away, and supposedly that institution was to help them, right? Eventually, as time passed by, people who had AIDS, cancers, they went over there to go through these trials, right? Or just basically to spend the rest of their days over there. Now, mentally unstable, meaning these individuals cannot consent to nothing. So these experiments were for those individuals who were not mentally stable, who couldn't make a decision for themselves, who didn't speak English. And apparently there was a criteria to perform this test to these individuals who basically didn't have nobody out there on the streets to talk to them or speak for them, right? They wanted to have somebody who was isolated, who didn't speak English, who was not receiving a visit, who was not riding people out on the streets, man. Somebody who was basically disconnected from the outside, and somebody that they can do whatever they wanted to do, right? Now, in 1990, different times, right, from the time that it opened. Now, in Vacaville, there's a boom, right? There's a boom in Cdcr. There's a gang of inmates, right? A lot of people are committing crimes. The laws have changed, and regular inmates are landing on Vacaville. Now, in the 90s, Vacaville was a reception center. So in a reception center, they're going to decide either you're going to keep you right there or they're going to transfer you to a different institution. Now, let's just put it this way. If you were doing not that much time, they'll keep you right there. Why? Because you're going to be of help to run that institution. They need workers. They need people that do the laundry. They need people who are plumbers, electricians, stuff like that, right? To help run the institution. So this one inmate hit me up and was basically telling me his story, how he landed in Vacaville after going through reception because he was in a violation, right? The things that he told me, man, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it, and I was like, you know what, we have to tell this story because nobody has spoken about this. Nobody has talked about this, and trust me, there's a lot of people who know about these stories, especially those CEOs that used to work right there. Now, he told me that he supposedly was a, I don't know, a window fixer, right? I don't know what the name of that job was, but you have your plumbers that fix the toilets, you have the electricians who be fixing the lights, and you have those guys who fix the windows, right? So that was his job. His boss was a CEO, and the one thing that they used to say, I mean, the one thing they used to tell him before they entered this one building where they had those individuals who were going through these medical trials, it was like, whatever you see right here, you don't speak about it. CDCR knew, the cops knew that whatever they were doing, it was out of pocket. They shouldn't be doing that. And still, they continue with that stuff. And I'm surprised that people have not put them out there. And you know what? I was like, you know what? I need to put this out there for the gente so they can understand what was going on and possibly still going on in CDCR. Now, he told me that on top tier, that's when they had all those individuals. So when he used to go to the top tier, he used to come across individuals doing some crazy ass stuff, especially like, you have to remember, people who were on this building on the top tier, possibly there were somebody at one point. They were, maybe they came like this from the streets, mentally unstable, or because they were confined on those crazy ass lockdowns, they couldn't see the sun. They lost their minds. Maybe because they have witnessed so much violence in CDCR, they have lost their minds. Something had to happen in their lives, in their period of becoming an inmate, of being an inmate, that basically changed the chemical thing that happens in your brain, and now you lose track of reality. Now you start talking to yourself. You think you're talking to somebody in your cell, but that's not reality. That's not what's happening. You're talking to yourself, and these individuals are lost. They're gone. And it is reality of CDCR. There's a lot of people who were locked up in Pelican Bay. They're not the same people they used to be, right? And that was the big push about the hunger strikes and ending what Pelican Bay and CDCR was doing, right? Housing individuals for basically for no end, just because of some kind of criteria. Now, on this top tier, he came across a paisano who had a crazy ass story and very interesting story, man. Remember, the cop, his boss, didn't want him to talk to these individuals. He wanted to keep him separated from the individuals so he don't speak about them or he don't speak with them and stuff like that. And I don't know why, but that was his what he wanted, right? So apparently this worker ended up talking to the paisano and basically asked the paisano, what are you doing right here, man? There's nothing but individuals going through medical trials, and these are individuals who are not okay in their head, right? And the paisano confined to him told him a story, what had happened to him. Basically told him, or not told him, show him what had happened to him. The paisano sad and basically lost all hope, showed him, opened his jacket, and showed him that he had breasts, So I look what they did to me. That's a sad story. That's, I don't know if they convinced the paisano to do that or what, or he didn't know what he was taking, but the guy grew some breasts, man. And things like this happen to inmates right there. He told me of a story, a gruesome ass story, man, of an individual, of an inmate, man, that every time he passed by his door, he would be eating his arm. Imagine eating your meat, basically yourself, right? That's some crazy ass story. And these are the people that CDCR was performing tests. That's a dark side of CDCR that has never been put out there. And guess what? We are going to be the first one who put it out there. Because that's bullshit. That's straight bullshit. And there's a lot of witnesses to this. Of course, they don't want to come forward. They don't want to tell what actually happened. Because, trust me, this place has been open since 1957. Throughout those years, people have worked in that institution. People have seen different things on those institutions. But they still decide to stay quiet. And I'm using my platform to put it out there. You know, I know that maybe this story is not going to get to a lot of people, but it's going to give you an idea of the life the life behind those bars, the life behind those walls, you know. And it's nothing easy. It's nothing easy. A lot of individuals have the assumption that Cdcr from the state, right? They're protecting the inmate. They're doing what they're supposed to do, but in the same way, they're experimenting with inmates. Till this day, they still do those clinical trials, right? And it's time to put it out there. It's time to put it out there. Maybe they're not doing it to the extreme that they used to do them before, but they still do them, right? So with this being said, we are out. Hopefully you like this story. To next video. Gracias.